How good is the Switchblade X9? The Switchblade X9 is one of the newest weapons in Black Ops 4. It's received through the 100 tiers that are added in Operation Grand Heist. And the reason why I like to make these videos is to kind of tell you guys whether or not it's worth it to maybe spend some money to get these weapons or grind it out, or whether they just suck altogether. Now, this weapon is one that I've seen both sides of. Some people say it's absolutely incredible. Some people say it's complete garbage. So throughout today's video, we are going to look at stats, best class setups, the attachments for the weapon, and answer the question, how good is the Switchblade? Now, I don't do these videos too often. Generally speaking, when they add in new weapons, DLC weapons, that's kind of when I do this. But if you enjoy this, you'll want to see more of these type of videos. The way to show me is simply hitting that like button. So all I ask is if you enjoy this video, it helped you out a little bit, it'd be awesome if you could hit that like button. Now, before we dive into the weapon stats here, I just wanted to let you guys know that later today, around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be streaming over on Twitch. I will be doing an open lobby, which means you guys will actually have the opportunity to play some Black Ops 4 with me. So if you've never checked out my live stream, or you just want to play some Black Ops 4 with me, it'll be the first link down in the description. It's a great place to hang out, have a good time, play some Black Ops 4 with me. So if you sound at all interested in that, like I said, first link down in the description. But without further ado, let's dive in and talk about the Switchblade. So this is a fully automatic SMG, and it is unlocked at level 100 of the current tier system. So this is literally the last thing you unlock in Operation Grand Heist. Now, the big question today is it worth being the last weapon that you actually unlock? And where we're going to start with that is the damage of the weapon. So the damage for the Switchblade is 32 damage up close. That range is really short. We're going to look at that in a second. Then 27, 24, and then the damage walks down to 18. And what I mean by that is at 24, it then goes to 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, and then the final drop off is at 18. So the thing you need to know there is that you are looking at a 5 to a 9 bullet kill, which honestly for an SMG in this game isn't terrible, but what's terrible is when we actually look at the ranges here. So what you can see here, this is the first damage range drop off where it goes from a 5 to a 6 bullet kill. So essentially, to have that 5 bullet kill range, you are essentially touching your enemy right up beside them. This is what I meant by the range for this weapon is relatively bad. So this range here is where it drops off to a 7 bullet kill. So the 6 bullet kill range is actually pretty decent for this weapon. This is where it drops off to 8 bullets. And then finally here we have 9 bullets. So as you can see, relatively quick damage drop off, but the biggest one is that 5 to a 6 bullet damage drop off, only being like 3 meters is the biggest problem for the Switchblade. If that was longer, this gun might actually be quite a bit better, but because of that, that's where this weapon kind of falls apart. That being said, the section where this is kind of made up for is the rate of fire. So the base rate of fire for the Switchblade is 840 RPM, which is just a little bit slower than the SOG 9mm. After that, we have rapid fire 1 of 909 RPM, and then finally rapid fire 2 at 954 RPM, which is just a little bit better than the SOG 9mm. I'm also pretty certain that this was done on purpose because the fire rate of the Switchblade with rapid fire 1 is exactly 909 RPM, which is exactly the same as the SOG 9mm. But now that we know all this, we can look at the time to kill. So the time to kill for this Switchblade ranges from 286 milliseconds, which is really good, to 571 milliseconds, which is absolutely terrible. So a big difference there. The problem is, though, is that 286 milliseconds is, like I said, only up to like 3 meters, basically touching your enemy, which is pretty much the worst part of this weapon. Now, of course, as we could see there, this can be made better with rapid fire being used on this weapon, but still, it's not quite as competitive as other SMGs in the game, like the SOG 9mm or Spitfire, as far as the time to kill goes. Now, the worst stat of all for the Switchblade is the magazine size. So the magazine size is 26 rounds, which for a weapon with this rate of fire is incredibly low. So hybrid mags is one of the attachments that's available for the Switchblade, and it's almost mandatory to use because it buffs that mag size to 36 rounds. Now, the other stats that are important to know are the aim down sights time and sprint out time. The ADS is 210 milliseconds and the sprint out is 200 milliseconds. This is pretty average for SMGs in this game, which means it's pretty good. Now, the other things that we have to talk about are, first of all, hip spread. Hip spread's relatively bad for an SMG with this weapon. That being said, it's still an SMG and it's still going to be relatively easy to hip fire. The other thing is the recoil. So this is one of the worst things on this weapon is the recoil. It has a really weird recoil pattern, and on top of that, it's a lot of recoil. So it's kind of got this like S-shaped recoil pattern that's kind of weird to get used to and is going to make it difficult to get kills at long ranges with this weapon. That being said, if you're up close, I would say within 15 meters, it's relatively easy to manage, but over 15 meters is where it starts to get very, very difficult. So the key to this weapon is sticking with very short range gunfights, almost like you're playing with a shotgun. So this first class I think is the best out of the two, and as far as this class goes, the attachments that I use are actually 4 of them. I've got rapid fire, grip, quick draw, and hybrid mags. The rapid fire is there to make it so that this weapon has a competitive time to kill. As I mentioned, with rapid fire 1, it makes it so that the rate of fire is 909 RPM, exactly the same as the SOG 9mm. The grip is there to counteract that high recoil that we talked about before. Quick draw, so you can snap onto targets faster. This is kind of personal preference. I personally like this a little bit more than stock. However, you can replace this with stock if that's what you prefer. And then hybrid mags, as I mentioned before, are pretty much a must on this weapon. It extends the magazine size to 36, gives you some additional ammo. Speaking of which, the 2 perks that I'm using with this are Scavenger and Gung Ho. Scavenger is important with this weapon. I almost always use Engineer over Scavenger. However, you just run out of ammo so fast with this weapon because of the small magazines, and on top of that, because it has a fast rate of fire. And then Gung Ho makes it so that you can snap onto targets even faster and have a faster sprint out time. So in my opinion, this is the best of the 2 classes. However, the second class is simply designed so that you can have the fastest possible time to kill and still have a viable weapon. So this one is a relatively similar class. The main difference is with this one, you are using rapid fire 2. So as you can see, we have the ELO, rapid fire 1, rapid fire 2, and once again, hybrid mags. Now, the only reason why the ELO is there is because I had 1 extra slot in my creative class. With this weapon, you do not need an ELO, you do not need a red dot. The iron sights are just fine on this weapon, but like I said, I had an extra slot, so you might as well use it. Now, with rapid fire 1, rapid fire 2, you are going to have a little bit more recoil, but I find as long as you're sticking to close range gunfights, you don't really need grip, but you do need hybrid mags. It's going to buff your mag size to 36 instead of 26 and make it so you just have more ammo available to you. On top of that, I'm using Scavenger, Gung Ho, and Dead Silence. Those are just my go-to perks with this weapon. Like I said before, you pretty much need to use Scavenger if you're wanting to get more than like 3 kills with this weapon. Now, finally, we've talked about all the stats, we've talked about the best class setup. Let's answer the question, how good is this weapon? Honestly, it's not that great. I give it like a 5 out of 10. It's kind of just middle of the road. It has that really good fire rate, but the damage is low, the range is low, and everything else is just decent with this weapon. The thing with this weapon is, for it to be good, for it to be viable, you have to be using a lot of high tier attachments like rapid fire 1, rapid fire 2, and hybrid mags. The problem with that is once this weapon has those attachments, it's only as good as something like the SOG or the Spitfire. It's not actually better. So you could rather use the SOG or Spitfire or Damon with no attachments, and it's going to be better than this weapon fully loaded with attachments. So I still think that this weapon's better than like the MX9 and the GKS, but it's just kind of like middle of the road. I would much rather use the Damon, the Spitfire, the SOG, or any of those 3 SMGs over top of this weapon. So that's kind of why I gave it a 5 out of 10. So if you were thinking of spending your money to unlock all 100 tiers to get this weapon, don't just do it for this weapon. It's not the best weapon in the world. However, it is fun to use because it feels different than the other SMGs. So my question to you guys, for those of you who do have this weapon unlocked, or maybe have just picked it up, what do you think? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's terrible? Do you think it's middle of the road like I do? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Also, if you found this video informative, if you like what you saw, maybe you want to see more videos like this one, it would be awesome if you could hit that like button. Also, if you're new to the channel and like what you see, the best way to stay up to date on all of my videos is to make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you have notifications on. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, guys, peace out.
Listen.